Welcome to Connecting to Spirit. I'm your host, Lisa Brandis, intuitive guide, teacher, and founder of Intuitive Reiki International. In today's episode, I'm joined by the incredible Annemarie Lord, a renowned psychic medium, intuitive coach, spiritual mentor, and the international author of the transformational book, The Grateful 3 Approach to Life. She's known as the motivational medium. Annemarie has helped thousands around the world connect to spirit, find clarity, and live more empowered lives. In our conversation, Annemarie shares her powerful journey from decades as a registered nurse to answering the call of her true spiritual path. We talk about the challenges that she overcame, the unforgettable moments of spirit communication, and how you can begin to recognize the signs that your guides are sending you. She also reveals how her signature gratitude practice can create powerful shifts in your life, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey. Whether you're just starting to explore your intuitive gifts or you're already walking a spiritual path, this episode is packed with inspiration, wisdom, and down-to-earth guidance you can apply in your daily life. So, my friend, take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive into this soulful conversation with the one and only Annemarie Lord. Welcome, Annemarie, to Connecting to Spirit. I have been an admirer of yours for a long time. I think I first read your book, The Grateful 3 Approach to Life, just as I was publishing mine. And to actually have the printed copy, I'm so grateful. I bought it on Kindle initially and loved it back then. And just rereading it, I've been making little notes about all the amazing content in your book that I wanted to discuss with you. So firstly, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm so excited about this today.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? I feel like every time we speak, I feel like you're a kindred soul, Annemarie, and there's a lot of similarities in our story that I think makes for an easier connection. Right. So I want to start at the beginning, Annemarie. Your story begins as a registered nurse, and you have a really grounded, steady career based in science. And one day something happened that helped you to realize your path was going to change in quite a big way. Was there a moment or an experience or even perhaps a breakdown that cracked you open to the world of spirituality?
I wouldn't say there was a moment. Going through my life, like being a young child, I was always aware of something, there's something different. I used to call it my nervy feeling. I'd feel it in my tummy. Mm-hmm. And I'd also see, I call it energy spirals. Mm-hmm. And my mum used to say, oh, no, that's your temperature. Because I'd see these, energy spirals in the air. And now what I know them to be was spirit.
Yeah.
I don't see them anymore. But going through nursing, I believe that being connected to spirit, and which I didn't really understand fully at the time, I felt that it helped me do my job and connect with people on an even deeper level. But to answer your question, was there a defining moment? Not really. I feel like I was pushed out of the nursing closet a few times.
Yep.
And I always went back in.
Back to that safety zone.
Into the nursing closet. Yeah. What I know, and we all fear judgment.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, how can I say it? It was a very respected role as a nurse, especially a palliative care nurse and a wound care specialist. So to come out and say, look, I actually see dead people, and I know this sounds awful, but I actually felt like a lot of my hard work, what I'd worked for, and if you've read my book, it was a struggle to get where I was, would have been quashed. So I was terrified to do that.
Yeah, a lot of my students feel the same way. Quite often when we go deep, it's our own self-judgment, isn't it, that we have to face, as well as once we come to terms with our own beliefs around spirituality or being psychic or what it means to be a psychic medium, when we can question that and follow that passion? Because did you find it was like the connection and the passion to the spirit world was just something you couldn't step away from no matter how many times you tried? It like just kept coming back and kept coming back, and it's like tapping on the shoulder.
Yeah. It was like, you are going to do this, so just accept it.
You go the hard
it
or the
was
easy way.
Not ready yet,
I can
That's it. And trust me, I chose to go the hard way,
Yeah.
But it was like, hello, you ready today? No, not quite there yet. So they kept pushing and pushing. But one of the funny things was I started doing readings for like friends and family. And I used to say to them all the time, do not tell a soul what I can do. Do not tell a soul.
Then they would have
And
gone
they
and
go,
told
okay,
everyone.
we promised.
Everyone, that's like
absolutely everyone. And it was like, oh, but she won't tell anyone either, or he won't tell anyone either. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, especially,
and then I decided to step out.
You just have to. I was doing a radio interview and I was asked to channel spirit, and one of the co-hosts, her mum's very religious, and she said to her mum, don't watch today's episode. And I said to her, of course that means she's, it's going to spark that curiosity. And she checked in afterwards, and yes, she did watch it. So it's very funny.
Yeah.
And I always think that whenever we feel a little bit scared about something or we feel nervous, it's because that is the path of our greatest joy, because we care about that thing and we want to do it well and we want to be the best that we can at that. And so the things that we're kind of like, ho-hum about, they don't trigger us as much because it's not quite the path of our greatest joy. So I always think we have to wrestle with that kind of, and I know you speak about it in your book, just stepping out of that comfort zone and where we need encouragement. And I know you're great with supporting your clients and the students that you're training also. And I think that really plays a big part is great support, great learning, great training, especially in this industry. We have to have discernment as well to kind of be able to filter not only the messages that are coming through from spirit, but also our own mind and our own beliefs as well.
It's not an easy thing to do,
No.
even though a lot of people are naturally intuitive or natural mediumship skills. There's a lot more to it than just being able to connect with spirit.
Yep.
And that I found not the hardest thing, but I think my nursing helped the way I connected with people in really hard situations. With working in palliative care for 12 years, it's you meet a lot of people, even though connecting excuse me, with people through nursing, then working in palliative care takes it that step further.
Oh, definitely.
And I think mediumship even takes it that step further away.
Yeah.
So it all helps. Whatever it is that you do, it can help you. If you're a medium or if you're intuitive, it can help rather than having to keep them separate. Blend it together and it will become your journey.
Yeah, that's what I've always done, and I teach my students that as well. Newbies, when they're learning spiritual development, and it's like, no, but you bring all of who you are to that situation.
That's
and
right.
I would imagine the work that you're doing, that you would naturally attract people that perhaps have grief or going through different stages of your life that you have yourself been through. We also can draw on our own life experience as a way shower of how we've moved through some of the mess that we all experience in life, and then we become an inspiration to others, and that can be very valuable. And yes, I know with mediumship and spirituality, it's not like the logic can just read something, practice it, rehearse it, and know it. It's a very creative process that requires a sensitivity, but also just practicing the skills, connecting often with your spirit guides,
it takes time.
and getting past the doubts and the insecurities, because it, the communication comes in through the imagination, and it's quite a process. So what's some of the most common signs from spirit that you've been shown that perhaps people miss, or some of the signals or symbols that spirit can communicate that can kind of help people know that their loved ones are around them? Have you been feeling called to learn Reiki? Not just to channel powerful healing energy, but also to awaken your intuition in the process. Now it's easier than ever. After 22 years of teaching Reiki in person, I've created a high-quality online training experience that gives you lifetime access to become a certified and accredited intuitive Reiki healer. Through Intuitive Reiki International, you'll gain the skills to step into a rewarding new career. Plus, you'll connect with a thriving community of like-minded healers and make a real difference in people's lives. If you feel the calling, don't wait. The time is now to embrace your passion and start your Reiki journey. Visit intuitivereiki.online to get started today.
I had this in one of my live events. A young girl at the front, she put her hand up because I do mediumship, platform mediumship, but at the second half of the event, I also do a questions and answers session, so people can put their hands up, or they get a chance to write a question and put it in this big bowl that I have. So it's quite an interactive event at the second half. And this young girl put her hand up and she said, "How come my nan has now become a willy wagtail?" And I started laughing and I said, "Your nan has not become a willy wagtail. What we do is we associate, so your loved ones don't become butterflies, they don't become dragonflies, they don't become willy wagtails. What I believe happens, and I've been shown this from spirit, is that when we think about our loved ones, we think about them and then we'll see a willy wagtail. So then that connection is made and spirit are very, very clever. Obviously, they've got superpowers now, if you like, a lot more powers than we had when we were down here, incarnated into this life. And what happens is every time we think about them, we see this willy wagtail, and then it becomes reverse, because then spirit think, okay, she needs my help today, right? Where's the willy wagtail, And the bird will come in, and as the bird comes in, it means your loved one is around, because that's when you think of your loved one. So your loved one hasn't become a bird. Your loved one is around when you see that bird. And that's how, I could talk about manipulating music. So that
I've had that happen many
hear
times.
it on the radio. And people say to me, "How is it just at the right time that song comes on the radio?" And I said, well, think about it. When we go to the spirit world, everything is omnipresent. And what I mean by that is there's no time. Everything is in the now. There's no future. There's no past. Everything is now. The radio is going to happen anyway. They haven't manipulated time. Time is happening anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So when you're in that car and that song was going to come on anyway, it's like being aligned, because there's no future time and there's no past time in their time.
Yeah. And it's also about the feeling that resonates when they come close to us. It's around a positive emotion and a connection to them that we feel that resonance. And it's all energy. It's all vibration and frequency.
And the other thing is you've got to, and this is what I tell my students all the time and my podcast listeners, when you hear or when you see that bird or you hear that music, use that sign. That's a really beautiful sign. Think of what's going on in your life at that moment.
Check in.
Is there something that's worrying you? Have you got an interview? Have you got something to write? Have you got something that's going on in your life? Because your spirits are trying to give you a little, "Hello, I'm with you. You've got this." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we miss that so much.
Because we're so busy in our mind, aren't we? We're quite often so busy thinking, and it's like, I love what you're suggesting there, Annemarie, just to stop what you're doing, as long as you're not driving, and check in, and even just a general statement like, what do you want me to know right now? And then wait and listen to just see what thoughts come in. And I think our spirit team are whispering to us all day long, every day. They're always there, always loving us. And it's that we check in, download of inspiration. And I think with teaching, as you do as well, we're teaching people to create more opportunity for that deep, profound connection that comes from within, that are so needed right now.
That's right. And everyone wants stuff quickly. Everyone wants answers quickly. Now, you mentioned there very quickly, you said, as long as you're not driving. But even that, think if you're in the car and something comes on the radio, where are you going? Are you going to an interview? Are you starting a new job? Are you going on a date? Think of where you're going and what you're doing, because that just might be their way of saying, we've got you.
Yep, we're with you.
And that's it.
And sometimes it's that confirmation, isn't it? And just that support, that confirmation, which we can get with like-minded people when we connect with people that know who we are and an encouraging of what it is that we're doing, especially when we're venturing into the spirit realm, but also knowing that we've got a whole angelic team and spirit team that's here to encourage us and to help us to navigate life. And I find the challenges is trusting in that innate knowing and trusting in the messages that we receive. And when we do that, life just gets so much easier, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You've really...
life can be hard sometimes, but if you can have a way of knowing that and knowing you're not alone, walking the path with somebody or some spirits, if you like, can be so much easier.
Yeah. Quite often people would, go to see their loved ones at the graveyard and they'd be in the car with them on the way there.
They used to show me that they'd get in the car with them and they'd drive to the cemetery and it'd be freezing and then they'd sit in the cemetery with them and it'd be like, okay, you're frozen enough now, let's get back in the car and let's go home. Where ashes are or where the remains are.
Yeah, and I think
you can call you guys
loved ones in at any time. When you first stepped into mediumship on a public platform, it can be quite nerve-wracking for new fledgling mediums to get out there and start sharing their work. And I know I've certainly experienced the same with live channeling, because there is that element of trust. You have to trust spirit. You don't know there's no script. You don't know what's going to be said. And it takes a lot of courage, especially when we love what we want to do and we really want to do a good job. And people are vulnerable with mediumship. So it is something that we train a long time, sometimes for many years before we take that first step on the stage to do platform mediumship. And I just wanted to know, what was it like for you when you first stepped onto the stage and started to give mediumship readings to a larger group, Annemarie?
Absolutely terrifying.
It is.
I remember getting a chance to work with another medium and she taught me a lot, actually. And when I went to work with this medium, I was absolutely terrified. And I think one of the biggest things is stepping into that power, stepping into that fear and that energy. And, you talk about, like, does it get any easier? No, it doesn't.
Does it? Worry if it did.
No. That's right. Yeah. And every time I step into that or get onto that platform or onto that stage, I'm still a lady who I connected with in the UK called Hannah McIntyre. She's an amazing medium over in the UK. Yeah. I actually done an interview on her podcast and she's been a guest on mine. Yeah. And she said she sounds like Larry the Lamb as soon as she gets up. She's like, hello. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, so do I. So the first, when you're introducing yourself, your lips stick to the top of your teeth.
It's horrible.
But once it is horrible, it's terrible. But once you get into that
the energy
flow, or once you, it's like you've blended when you've done your meditation before the show, but you're still standing up and giving that introduction as you, shall I say, not nearly knowing what's going to happen. And then you say, okay, now I'm open. This is how I feel. And then as soon as I open up to spirit, they're in. Yeah. And that Larry the Lamb voice goes.
It does, doesn't it? You centre.
And you're on a flow.
Yeah. And I kind of think it's
connecting.
I don't know if it's the same for you with mediumship, but it's slightly different for channeling. But I also feel that there's an energy that is created by the room as a whole. So I think as an energy, as a collective, I think I found it easier to realize it's not just me here. And instead of focusing on myself and how I'm going to look or what I'm going to say or what if I make mistakes or what if it doesn't resonate, I start thinking about how can I be of service, not only with the help of spirit, but how can I help the people that are there with me? And it becomes more about them, connection and making a difference. And I think it's reasonable to be nervous around something, and it is. I think fear of getting up in public speaking is one of the top 2 fears that people have. So I think we're really brave, Annemarie, to challenge, to get up there and do it.
Imagine getting up. Exactly, with no script.
Yeah,
People who
it's
sing know
terrifying.
what they're going
They
to
have a
sing.
script.
People who that's right, they have a
Actors, they know
script.
exactly
People
what they're
who play
saying.
all
Yeah,
have a
except
script.
us.
We have
No.
no script.
The reason we keep coming back and doing it time and time again, for me, the experience is unlike anything that I've ever done in my human experience. It is the feeling of joy that I feel when I'm blended with my spirit team is one that's electrifying, and I just feel so much, see clairvoyantly, and the information that comes through is profound and wise, and I love it. I remember the very first time I saw Tony Stockwell trance channel demonstrate, and I was in the front row and felt that electrified energy. It was life changing. And you know how people have a near death experience and they kind of, at the end of that, they know that there is a spirit world. It becomes a knowing, not a question. I wonder if.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I felt the same, Marie, after that. I'd been in a different altered state and was so in tune with his spirit guide. Like I could literally see his energy transfigure in front of me and feel the emotion of his guide.
That's amazing.
And there was 100 mediums in this conference. I want to know how to do that. It was from that day forth. I was like, I want to do that. And it's probably been 15 years on the journey of developing, because it's not something you can do easily. It takes time, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I was listening to some of your podcast in preparation for this interview, and there was two things that blew me away. I heard you talking about one of your friends that had AML, so for those that don't know, acute myeloid leukemia, and she was in remission. And from what I know of that illness, there's not many that actually make it, because the stats are pretty low. My husband had AML when I was pregnant with my second child, and he's now 17 years in remission. Changed his life. And some of what she was saying, I've spoken, because he literally saw it as a gift and changed his whole life based on what he learnt when he went within. When he had cancer and realised he was totally in the wrong job. He was in a sales repping job and he was just out of alignment, and studied and changed his whole career. And since then, he's never looked back. And he doesn't say that I'm in remission. He says I'm cancer-free. 17 years cancer-free.
That's what she said.
Did she?
I'm cancer-free.
Yeah. So all these little...
She's an amazing lady.
Yeah, she sounded it on the podcast. So if you haven't had a chance to listen, do you know the episode number, Annemarie, or what her name is? So people can go find it.
Her name is Sari Lindley.
Yeah, we'll drop it in the...
Sari Lindley, she's just an amazing lady. I first was introduced to Sari, not personally. I seen her talk at Tony Robbins' event. She's one of Tony Robbins's coaches, and she teaches on his events, on his UPW events. I messaged her when she was sick, because she'd been such a big influence on my life, even though she didn't know it. And that's a thing that we do, and to do in the roles that we do. We don't even know the people that we touch half the time, and that's a big difference. And that's about always being true and standing up and authentically as you. But going back to Sari, I contacted Sari thinking I wouldn't get a reply, and I didn't want a reply. I just wanted her to know that I was sending her healing through Reiki.
That's so beautiful.
And she contacted me, and we've become friends ever since.
So that's love, and just that pure intent.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she's such an amazing lady. She really is. And I'm so proud of the beautiful, amazing person that she is. And yeah, she does. She, through her illness, she actually went on to rescue horses who were ready for slaughter. And and she's got this a big company now, Believe Ranch and Rescue, where she rescues horses, and she's, oh my God, she's just beautiful. She's an amazing lady. Her and her wife, Beth.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. I did some work a while ago with Reiki healing and horses, and their heart fields profound. Like they will literally, I remember laying a massage table down in the paddock, and there was 4 horses, and there was a lady that was kind of translating what the horses were doing. And I'm literally like, there was this big horse called Zeus, and I'm like, I don't want Zeus. I don't want the big horse Zeus. I wanted the little there was like I don't know what the female horse is called, the mares. There was this sweet little mare, and she didn't want anything to do with me. This big buff Zeus came right up to me. It was nudging me, and I'm like, get away. And it was so interesting. So I laid down on the massage table. And then she said to me, he came over me and literally waved his head right from the bottom of my feet over my head. And to me, I always grew up loving horses. Like, I've just loved that. They're just the most magnificent animal. And I always love the arch of a horse. They just remind me of such grace. And I was laying underneath, looking up under the arch of this horse's neck, just the most beautiful part of a horse. He was a test tube horse they had big ambitions for him to be a racehorse. And he failed all of their expectations. And so he was rejected. And the minute she said that, I just started sobbing because it hit on that rejection that I'd felt that I hadn't processed. That little mare started nibbling my feet to make me come out of it, and we all started laughing because it was like the instant the horses just ground us and bring us back to, like, it's like, okay, you got it, you triggered, you released. It was
so
oh, definitely. So you've developed your own method through the Grateful 3 approach to life. What inspired this, and how has gratitude, because I know that's a theme that threads throughout the book, how has gratitude changed the way you live and work with spirit, Annemarie?
I believe gratitude can change anything. Gratitude can change anybody's life. For me, when I started seeing what I had in life rather than what I didn't have, then life became changeable. A lot of the time we go through life saying we haven't got this, we haven't got that. And it's so easy for us all to do that. I find myself still falling into that path. But having the Grateful 3 approach to life tools, as I call them, is your bag of not staying there. So when you start, well, I haven't got this, or life's become a bit too heavy, or life's a bit shit at the moment, whatever it is, then you stop and you put your hand on your heart and you just give thanks for 3 things. That's when life begins to change. Because throughout that day, there's, it is science as well, because, I am a nurse. We will bring science
Of course.
When we give gratitude for 3 things in our lives, what we're doing is we're programming the RAS system, the reticular activating system. So what happens there is you start seeing more of what you've just programmed. The RAS system hasn't got it sort of wrong. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. It's a system within the brain that looks at what we are emotionally thinking and helps us see more. So if you're emotionally thinking negative things, the RAS system will make you see more of what is negative. If you're giving gratitude or seeing positive things throughout your day, your RAS system flicks on and sees more of what is good in your life. So for me, this was like a light bulb moment. I was thinking, we all work with this RAS and don't know we've got it. What an amazing tool to have. So we can then script, we can change the pattern of our lives going forward by gratitude. I didn't bring this in. If you look at Buddhism,
The Reiki system, it's the antidote for anger and worry.
That's nice. Or if even in if you're religious, if you've been brought up Catholic like I was, everything is about giving thanks. Do you know what I mean? This isn't new. Everything is about being grateful. So I thought, simple. What can we do? Put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath in, and give thanks for 3 things. But do it every morning before you even open your eyes, because you're still a little bit in that theta zone. And then what I found was I'm not brushing my teeth going, hey, I've got teeth, I've got legs to get me out of bed, and
hot water in a shower. It's things,
hot
isn't it? Or a beautiful cuddle with my
That's right. But I want to tell you something really quickly and very simply. Have your listeners, so have you as well, Lisa, have you ever thought that you're going to buy a new car, or you want a new car, and you're thinking about this new car? I always call it the red Range Rover. So you think about this new car, and then the next day you get on the road and everywhere you look, there's red Range Rovers. And then you see an orange Range Rover. Now, that orange Range Rover could look red in a bit of a light. So was them cars on the road the day before? Absolutely. You
You
hadn't
filtered
switched
it
this
out.
on
Yeah.
to see. So then if you decide to do this with gratitude, then you will see things to be grateful for, but then you'll even see orange Range Rovers. So you might even say, "Oh, I wouldn't have been grateful for that yesterday, but today I suppose I could be grateful for it." Do you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's about
It
the
expands.
RAS
Yeah.
massively. And why not use it to enhance your life rather than to make your life
Yeah,
bad or
oh,
sad?
absolutely. I often say that as a hypnotherapist, when we get the mind to work for us instead
Yeah,
of against us,
absolutely.
things change in our life quite
Yeah,
rapidly as well. And that's, yeah, I think really important.
very quickly.
There's one thing that you
Yeah.
recently helped me with. There was a bit of an issue I was struggling with on our last conversation, and you said, "Oh, go back to my book and go to the effort buckets." I won't swear on the podcast.
Yeah.
The
No,
buckets.
that's
And
right.
again,
Yeah.
these are simple tools that we often have learnt before, but we forget. And it's just, I sat there with this particular problem I had. I literally got out post-it notes and I'm like, this one goes in this bucket, this one goes in that bucket. And it literally
Yeah.
just shifted my state. And that sometimes we can get on a loop in our mind over fear of what others think of us when we really have no control. It's none of our business what anyone thinks of us. Yet, as humans,
That's
as
right.
people, we care. It's important to us. We want people
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like us. It feels good when they do. So, for our listeners, can you just recap what the buckets are and give a great example of how someone can use
Yeah.
it?
So the buckets for me are everything about my book is common sense. It's
I
quick,
love
it's
it.
simple, and it's common sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Now the buckets for me was about confidence. If you're thinking of starting your own business, say for instance, and then you think of going forward and you think, okay, what will people say? What will people think?
Coming out of the
What will
spiritual
people
closet, for
do?
instance. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
say for instance, like me, like being a nurse and then stepping forward into telling everyone I was a medium. What will people now? The key question here is people. Okay,
Yes.
so what I want you to think about is people. Who are these people? So a lot of the time we think about people as the people on Facebook or some maybe friend that you haven't seen for 40 odd years who you went to school with. Well, she might judge me. Really? So stay with me for a moment here. So we have these buckets. To the left of the buckets, we have people who we don't know and they don't know us. Say people that you haven't interacted with, people on Facebook, that kind of thing. And then to the right of the bucket, you're going to have people who don't like you. And we don't really like them if we got to know them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and
definitely.
it's okay to say that.
It's
Okay. Spiritual
discernment.
people
Yeah.
have people that don't
Discernment,
like
not
them.
judge. Yep.
That's nice. And then in the front bucket here, we've got the people who love us and who care about us. So you're ready to start this beautiful new venture within your life, and you're letting the people stop you. I want you to think, which bucket would you put the people in? Because, my friend, when you think of this beautiful journey and this beautiful new adventure that could change your life, your kids' lives, your family's lives, your home where you live, but you're letting the people stop you. The people that you mightn't have even seen in 100 years or whatever, the people that don't like you, so they're not going to like you anyway. But then I want to take you to the front bucket, because then we say, okay, so say it's going to be me mum that says, oh, love, I don't think you should do that. Or, maybe that's not the right thing. Or me husband or someone like that. There's only two reasons that people will say that, the people who love you. And one of them is their own limiting beliefs.
Fear.
So they wouldn't be able to do it through
Yep.
fear or their own limiting beliefs. And the second is through their fear of love for you. They do not want to see you fail.
Yeah.
So they keep you safe.
Keep you
When
playing.
you want to go on a journey, say that again?
You end up playing small to please them. And you spirit
do.
see, yeah,
Yeah.
us.
But small keeps you small keeps you never achieving your goals or your dreams, never getting your family what they want to do. Never, you know, when I said to people I was coming to live in Australia, a place I'd never been before, I didn't even know where I was going. I had a dream when I was about, oh God, I must have been about 14,
Wow.
you know, never been to Australia at all. And I packed up me, my husband, me 3 kids, and sold my house, gave our jobs up and landed in Australia. Was like,
I
whoa.
bet your family had a few things to say about that then.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody did. You know, are you nuts? You know, but if I would have listened to them and I would have let them stop me, my life would have been so different.
Yeah.
So don't let anyone stop you. Put them in a bucket.
Yeah, I love it. It's
them in a
such a
bucket.
simple but powerful and life transformational experience that we can do, and it does give you power back. And like I said, I tried it recently, and it does make a difference. And it's amazing how when we get into it, you know, I think no matter when we're going through growth phases, sometimes there's changes we're going through in business. It never stops, no matter 22 years in this industry as a spiritual teacher, and I'm still learning. Like there's always, you know, we're always humble. We realize we haven't, or the more I know, the less I know is kind of one of my favorite sayings, because it just keeps us in that, you know, always in that learning frame. Helpful for people to know, even when we've achieved great things ourselves, Annemarie, and written books like we both have, you know, we still struggle. We still have ups and downs and health crisis and, you know, all kinds of things, because there's the human beneath the spiritual teacher that, you know, that we struggle like everyone. And that can be helpful to know.
Definitely.
Yeah. What's a challenge that you've overcome that you feel would be really helpful for people either just beginning to learn or beginning to step out into mediumship, or as Reiki healers beginning to build their practice? Is there anything that you wish you knew when you started that you now have learnt through the years of your experience that would just make that journey easier?
Yeah, absolutely. Stand in your own authenticity. You are not somebody else. You are you. You bring everything you are to your practice. You are never going to be Mary down the road, because Mary's Mary. So people will go to Mary who like Mary. Do you know what I mean? But people will come to you who resonate with you. You stand in your authenticity. The more we focus on what other people are doing, or what other people, where they are in their practice or in their life, destroys the energy and
confidence,
the self, what you need to give back to you. The more energy you spend looking at other people is the less energy you spend helping you grow you.
Love it.
My one thing I would say to everybody, stand within your own authenticity. Do not worry or care. And that's one of the things I've found within the spiritual industry is not everybody, but a lot of people focus on what other people are doing.
The comparison. See, even in classrooms, I see people compare themselves to others. I'm like, but they may have come with a lot of other training into this channeling course. They may have come with years of development in a circle, which is why it may be easier for them to channel. And you're just beginning. So it's interesting how many times we compare ourselves. It doesn't. And I think it
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think you're right. The more that we can focus on who we are and how we deliver and be our authentic self, and know that it's an abundant world. There's enough for everybody. Comparison slows us down, and yet it's something that comes up time and time for people.
You know what I always think about? If you've got a wound on your arm, or you're trying to heal this and grow this skin back over and this wound, you wouldn't look at somebody else and say, I'm going to fix your wound.
No.
Why would you do that?
No.
I'll help you grow the skin back over onto your wound. 1, it's impossible.
Can't. Yeah.
And 2, it's a waste of energy.
And it's disempowering
to bring
them.
It back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you try and step in and do that for someone. But majority of the time we don't do that. We just watch from afar and let what other people are doing. If you're focusing on other people, it destroys your confidence. It's like Facebook, Instagram, you know, don't stand in authenticity. Nobody else on this planet is you or comes to your business with what you've got to offer. So my friend, focus on you. focus on you and watch how your business and your spiritual growth will change.
Yeah, beautiful words of wisdom, Annemarie, and I can really feel that will resonate with so many people. And I think it's great to be able to condense it down into simple and easy to follow ideas and instructions. Is there anything else that you haven't shared that you would like to, Annemarie?
I could actually talk forever, so you might have to narrow me down a little bit there.
We might have to leave it for now, and we can always bring you back for another chat. But we've certainly covered a lot. We've covered spirit, mediumship, teaching. I've enjoyed this conversation very much. And for those of you that would like to know more about Annemarie, you can grab her book, and I'll put all the links in the show notes below. And you still take one-on-one clients for readings, Annemarie?
Now I'm booked up till December, so this year is nearly full. However, if you do book in, you can always go on the internal cancellation list. I don't have an external one. These are all for people who are already booked in, but you can always come and see me at one of the live events.
Perfect.
And also listen to my podcast, Motivational Medium, and I would love you to read the book, or come to my come to one of my workshops, which would be great. Perfect. So thank you.
And always lovely to see you again. All right. So that's it for today. Until next time, trust yourself, trust spirit, and keep your heart wide open.